I'll just start some exam tips. I'll show you the exam tips because most of the people who want to appear in the PMP exam, they think that they will be able to kill the exam the moment they appear in the exam. There are various questions which might look just new to you. You might not have prepared for those questions previously, or you might not have seen those questions ever before. Even you have read the PMBOK Guide 6th edition, even if you have studied all the exam preparation courses, you have attended all the exam preparation courses, but still you might feel difficult to answer the questions. So when you appear in the PMP exam, remember that you have to always think as a project manager, and remember that project manager has power. What does that mean, that project manager has power? For example, if a question is related to the authority that a particular incident has happened, now where the project manager will go? Will he or will she approach the sponsor, or will he or she approach the PMO? So the answer to this question is that the project manager himself has authority to do certain things. He is an authorized person to take care of project from start to end. So certain decisions has to be made by him instead of reaching other people. So remember that if any question is related to the project manager, where he has to make, where some decision has to be made, remember that the project manager has authority to make the decisions. And always consider that you are managing big projects. Even if you have not managed big projects, you are taking care of small projects in your day-to-day life. And to pass the PMP exam, you want to get the PMP certification. But remember that to pass the PMP exam, you have to think that you are doing big projects. Okay, so you are managing big projects. Don't think about very small projects. So think about the big projects. So whenever there is question related to the projects where you have to answer the questions, so remember that the project is big project. It's not a small scale project where you are experiencing. When not specified, you are in a strong matrix organization. So you have to see the organization structures, that there are different kind of organization structures. So when it is not mentioned that in which kind of organization structure you are, so you have to talk about your powers, you have to talk about the structure which you are into. Remember that if it is not specified, you have to consider that the organization which question is talking about is the strong matrix organization. So you know about project, you don't need to go every time to management and ask for help. This is related to the first tip, where I have mentioned that if there is any incident, you don't need to approach the management all the times for any incident, which means that you have to make certain decisions by yourself. You don't need to ask for the help. You are a project manager, remember that. And when you are managing project, you have authority. So such type of questions has to be answered in this way. So you don't need to waste customers' time by approaching them with all your project problems. If there is any change happening, if there is any issue in the project, so you don't need to approach the customer all the time that this has happened in the project or that has happened in the project. You have to manage the project by yourself. You have to resolve all the issues by yourself, with your team, through your team. So you have to involve the project team, project management team, to resolve all those issues. You don't need to go to customer if there is any issue, until and unless there is a serious issue which has not been specified in the plan. For example, those issues can be a sudden force majeure, or for example, an earthquake, a flood, which can affect or which can damage, or which can affect the cost, quality, or time, or whatever related to the project. So make sure that you are not going to approach the customer for all the problems. You have to solve the problems by yourself. You have to make projects successful. So it is your responsibility. So whenever you are doing a project, remember that your core responsibility as a project manager is to make the project successful. So your focus is to make the project successful. So whatever you have to do related to the project to make it successful, you have to do that. That is your responsibility. If there is any team conflict, you have to resolve the conflict to make sure that project is successfully completed. And what is the success of the project? Of course, you must be knowing that the project which is fit for use and fit for purpose. And what is fit for use? Fit for use means that whatever has been specified by the project, by the customer in the project scope statement. And there are the criteria is already mentioned, the success criteria is already mentioned, which ensures that whenever you are delivering the project is delivered successfully. Then you have to ensure that project management skills are industry independent. These are not industry specific skills. Now, for example, if you are into IT, if you are into construction, if you are into astronomy, or you are working with NASA, or you are working in any organization with where any industry, it doesn't mean that your PMP certification is related to that specific industry. So project management skills or PMP skills are not specific to the industry. These are industry independent, which means that once you are PMP certified, you can apply those skills in any kind of industry, in any kind of project. So that is what your project, your PMP exam tips are related. Now we will move back to another training which we planned for. So I will quickly go through various aspects of the PMP certification. And concern is that you have to appear in the PMP exam. But before that, I want to show you something. So you ensure that you have the PMBOK guide. So PMBOK guide is the mandatory book. In fact, you can't avoid it. You have to have the PMBOK guide in order to pass the PMP exam. Most of the students or most of the aspirants who want to appear in the PMP exam, they register for the exam, but unfortunately they only take care of their they only do the preparation through different exam cram books, or they have some exam preparation course books. But remember that in order to clear all the concepts of the project management standard, which is specified in the PMBOK guide 6th edition, you have to do that. You have to study the PMBOK guide 6th edition from page number 1 to the last page, because it covers various aspects of the project management standard. So my recommendation is that when you are preparing for the PMP exam, you have to buy the PMBOK guide 6th edition. Now, sometimes you might have the problem in terms of buying the book. When you register in the PMI, when you get the PMI membership, you will get PMBOK guide 6th edition for free. The PDF version will be available for free. So you don't need to buy the hard copy if you are already PMI member. So you can get this PDF for free, and from there you can use it. And remember that we have to support the PMI. This is what the project management is all about. So when you are accepting that you will be appearing in the PMP exam, so to be a professional, you have to follow the code of conduct. You have to follow the code of ethics. So ethics says that You don't need to go for the pirated copy of the PMBOK guide. So you have to have you have to purchase the PMBOK guide. And after that, there is another book which is also related, which is called, this one is Agile Practice Guide. So this book is Agile Practice Guide. So this has got various concepts of Agile. Remember that Agile is the project management methodology which has been there in the industry for many years. Mainly the software industry has been using it previously, and it got success. That's the reason it became the standard in the project management by the PMI. So let us move to the agenda now. If you are new to the PMP, there might be some questions. So in this particular slide, I will cover those questions. So PMP or PMI, it's the Project Management Institute, which is an organization. It's a non-for-profit organization which was established in 1969. There are 2.9 members right now, and if you want to know more about it, you can go to the website pmi.org. It is a global standard, so global standard for the project, global standard for program, global standard for the portfolio. And then there are various certifications. PMP is not only the certification. Project Management Professional is one certification, but there are other certifications like project management and agile management, portfolio management, program management, schedule management, and there are some certifications related to the business analysis. And if we talk about the PMP, for which you all are here right now, it's an internationally recognized project management standard. So for many years, since 1969, there were many project managers across the globe who came together to develop this standard. And this standard is evolved all the times. We are into PMBOK Guide 6th edition right now. So there has been previous editions also, which has evolved over a period of time. And right now, this particular standard is adopted in 210 countries, and there are almost 286 chapters, and approximate 900,000 active members are there right now, registered on pmi.org. Now, we will talk about criteria to appear in the PMP exam. Of course, everyone cannot simply register and appear in the PMP exam. Remember that the certification is for the project managers. If you have gained the project management experience, then only you have to get the certification for that. So what the certification, if we, in generally we talk about the certification is giving an assurity to the employer that this person has got those credentials. It is a credential to your experience. It approves, or it proves that you are a qualified project manager or experienced project manager. So to appear in the PMP exam, you must have 4 years degree, 3 years leading project experience, and then 35 hours of formal training or CAPM certification. If you already have the CAPM certification, so you are eligible with the 3 years leading experience, or if you have 4 years degree. Now, there are many people who are not having the degree. So what they have to do, they can have, just a minute, I think the slide is skipped somewhere. Okay, so if you do not have the degree, then there is 2 years. For example, if you have the diploma, not the 4 years degree, then your experience for project management has to increase. It has to be 5 years of project management experience, and 35 hours of formal training is definitely required in both the cases, or the CAPM certification. Now, 35 hours of formal training, it can be any training. If you have attended any chapter training, usually 35 credit hours, 35 PDUs are required for that. So these are the, you can do some courses on Udemy also from the authorized trainer, or you can attend any authorized training session for 3 days. Usually 3 days training session is there, which helps you to get those 35 hours, and then you can register for the PMP exam. And then, of course, PMI will verify your credentials before you approach for the exam. Okay, so my plan was to cover these aspects, that we will be talking about the PMI, then about the PMP exam. This is what we have talked about, overview of the project management, and now we will talk about the roles of project manager. So, okay. As I told you, in order to qualify for the PMP exam, you need to have education and experience, and then your competency will be tested. And once you are PMP certified, you have to maintain your certification by ongoing development. Now, for example, if a person has done the PMC certification, for example, when I did my PMP certification, it was PMBOK Guide 4th edition, and after that 5th edition, sorry. So I had to improve my knowledge. I have to develop my skills further. I had to do the ongoing development of my skills in order to maintain that certification. And then, if you are not yet certified, you will have to have this education and experience. Then you will be tested for the competency. So we talked about the PMP, how to register your application. Now we will be talking about what will be there in the PMP exam. You must be knowing about it that there are total 200 exam questions which are scenario based. So it is not from the PMBOK guide only. It is all about your experience, but you will learn standard from the PMBOK guide. So you have to answer 200 questions, and you will be given 4 hours to complete those questions. So 1 hour for 50 questions, you have to consider minimum. How I did actually, and how I recommend, you spend maximum 1 minute per question, so that you will get time to review those questions at the end of the exam. So if you are able to answer 50 questions per 50 minutes, you'll be able to review the questions at the end to make sure that your questions are not wrong. And what will be there in the questions? What are these 200 scenario-based questions? These are the real-world project questions, which means that the questions will not be bogus. It will be really related to the real world, which has turned the world upside down. It had created various issues in the project. So this is a real world. In real world, you might face such challenges. So the question might be related to the same situation, and you have to answer according to the real world scenario. So project will be real world. Then there will be process related questions. Now, for example, we know that there are 49 processes in the as per PMBOK Guide 6th edition. So you need to make sure that you know all about those processes. What are the inputs, what are the tools and techniques, and what are the outputs, and how one process is related to another process, how the output of one process becomes input to another process, how the input of one particular process can be used in various other processes, what kind of tools and techniques are used, and how to use those particular tools. And remember that you must know about the tailoring as well. So tailoring means that you don't need to apply all 49 processes in your specific project, or you don't need to apply all tools and techniques, which are in hundreds. But you need to know about those tools and tools. You don't need to be expert in any tool. For example, if it is about the costing methodologies, you are doing a bottom-up estimating or top-down estimating. So you don't need to be expert in calculating those estimates, but you need to know what those estimates are all about. How to calculate, there will be experts in your team who will be doing that. But you need to know that in which particular process these tools and techniques will be used, and how it will generate the output, which kind of inputs will be used, and then what will be the outcome of that particular process. So these processes you need to know in order to pass the PMP exam. That's the reason PMBOK guide, it's must to study the PMBOK guide. Of course, your real world project will be there, but you have to know about the 49 processes. Then tools, ITTOs, which is nothing but input, tools and techniques, and outputs. Again, these are related to the processes. You need to know about that. Then the terminologies. Now, if I talk about terminologies, all these terminologies are, of course, in the PMBOK guide 6th edition. And there is, at the end of this PMBOK guide, there is glossary section. Remember that if you have already prepared for the PMP exam and you are confident about it, go back to page number 695, which is here, which might be visible to you. From here, the glossary section, which gives you the idea about all the terms. Now, for example, it talks about the common acronyms. For example, BAC. So one must know what is BAC. Exam question might have the BAC only. It will not tell you about budget at completion. So it means that you need to know about all these acronyms. And then the definitions. There are various definitions. Now, for example, what is the assumption log? What is assumption? What are benchmarking? What is communication models? What is collocation? So these all terminologies you need to know in order to pass the PMP exam, because there might be some questions, as I mentioned in this particular slide, that there are questions which are related to real world project, processes, ITTOs, and then terminologies, and then formula. Because in real world, what happens, you don't need to really memorize the projects in the real world. You have various software to do that for you. You might have, in some of the organization, they have previously developed various Excel sheets which are used to calculate those estimates, or which are used to do various calculations. But you have to remember how to do the calculation by yourself without using the software or without using the Excel sheet. So that's the reason you need to practice those formulas. You need to practice how to calculate the BAC, how to do all the calculations related to the cost estimation. Okay. So at the end of the project, or for example, there are some calculations where you have to know about the communication channels, how many communication channels are there, and how to calculate that. If one member has joined, if one member has left, if two members have joined, three members have left. So how to calculate the new channels, new communication channels. So you need to know about these formulas as well. And then the interception of graphs. So there are graphs which are given to you related to cost estimation, related to the all other costing, or all these which will you will know about them in the specific chapter. And I'll not waste your time in that right now, but you need to know about the graphs as well. So these are the 6 different sections which will be in your PMP exam. Now, there are various skills that you need to develop, and as per the PMBOK guide 6th edition, there are 5 process groups, which is initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and control, and closing. And then 10 knowledge areas, all the knowledge area related to the time, cost, scope, risk, quality, and then the stakeholder. And all these knowledge areas will be included in the exam. 49 processes, 42 tasks, because what project manager is doing, project manager is in fact conducting the project, means in conducting various tasks in the project. You are given a specific project, so you will be having various tasks to perform, which means that as per the PMBOK guide, there are 42 different tasks which you need to perform. So you have to know about these tasks, which I have already explained in one of the videos on my YouTube channel. So there you can see that what those tasks are all about. And then 47 skills. So these are all skills are specified on the PMI website. You can go through that. You can go through the PMI website and you can see what kind of skills the project manager must have in order to pass the PMP exam. So I'll not read those skills, but let us talk about the PMBOK Guide 6th edition right now. Of course, it is going to change very soon. 7th edition is going to be launched, but 6th edition will not expire. Still, it is valid. Still, the exam will be from the 6th edition only. And those who are preparing for the PMP exam right now, the 6th edition is active. There were various editions previously. First edition was in 1996, and 2000 was second edition. 2004 was the third edition. In 2008, fourth edition was launched, and 2013, fifth edition was launched. So it means that every 4 to 5 years we get a new edition. Right now we are into PMBOK Guide 6th edition, which was launched in 2017, and we are right now into 2020, which is 3 years. Of course, there has various improvements and various changes which are into the project these days. And in fact, the major focus will be the virtual projects. So that's the reason there is a need to publish a new PMBOK guide, which will be launched by the end of this year. And due to COVID-19, it is delayed. But this time it is launched before, I believe, before 3 years. In 3 years, actually, time. Normally it is 4 to 5 years, but this time it is, if you see, 96, 2000, 2004, 2008, 2013 was the 5th edition, which was after 5 years, and then 2017 again after 4 years. But if the pandemic was not there, we were going to see the new edition in 2020. But we are expecting that in 2021. So your exam will be still specific to PMBOK Guide 6th edition. So you don't need to worry about your preparation. You keep preparing for the exam, considering the PMBOK Guide 6th edition. And 6th edition has these two books together, which is PMBOK Guide and the Agile Practice Guide, which I have explained you in the beginning of this session. So there are various other publications by PMI. So this particular publication, if I talk about, so I have explained you there are 756 pages in this specific 6th edition, and you have to see from first page to last page, and there is Agile Practice Guide, which is again 167 pages. Of course, there is some introduction and all these, you can skip those, but the concern is that if you talk about overall PMBOK guide, so almost 900 pages are there, which you have to study, not just to read, you have to study. So what is there in the PMBOK Guide 6th edition? You have trends and emerging practices. Tailoring consideration is there in this particular 6th edition. Now, those who have 5th edition, they might be concerned that what is the change in 6th edition. So 6th edition is mainly focused on tailoring, and the emphasis is on the strategic and business knowledge. Usually what happens that you have the project management knowledge, but you have to make sure that you have strategic and business knowledge in order to manage the project successfully. And then new section, totally new section is there, which is related to the project manager roles. You have to mainly focus on the project manager roles. You have to know what is the servant leadership. You have to know about different leadership styles. You have to know about those styles, that what is the situational leadership, at what particular stage, what kind of leadership style you have to adopt. And then As I explained, that Agile Practice Guide was mainly used by the software industry, but now it has become a de facto for all the projects. So in project management, in all kind of projects, it is not now industry specific. It can be used anywhere. So we will move to the next section, which is about the introduction of the project. So when you start reading the PMBOK guide, the first chapter that you see is about the project, that what the project is. And so you don't need to skip those chapters, because these are the foundation of the knowledge. Okay, you must be experienced. So you have to keep your experience on one side when you are appearing in the, when you are planning to appear in the PMP exam, because your experience might have told you various different skills, which has given you various different skills, or you might have gained those skills from various people. But you have to polish those skills in accordance with the PMBOK Guide 6th edition. Why PMBOK Guide 6th edition? Because PMBOK Guide 6th edition is a global standard for the project management. It is a project management standard which is recognized globally. So every project manager across the globe speaks the same language if he is PMP certified. So if you are PMP certified, you will know all about the standard, and you will know about all those similar language. So people will be, project manager across the globe will be speaking similar language. So if you want to build your career in the project management, you go anywhere in the world, in any industry, you will be fit for that industry and that world, that part of world, any country. The reason is because it is a global standard and it is accepted globally. Now, what is project outcome? When you apply these all project management practices, principles, processes, tools, and techniques, when you apply this to the real work, then you will get an outcome of the project. And what is the outcome of that project? It is an output. For example, if you are into oil and gas industry, so outcome of that project will be the deliverable. For example, if you are into construction industry, so the building of that particular industry will be the project outcome. Okay, so the outcome is not said project. Now, for example, if you have developed a software, that software is not a project. Project is developing the software is a project, but the outcome of the project is that software. So software is outcome of project, but when you are applying all the project management skills in that specific work, that work is in fact called the project. So there can be these kind of questions also. So you have to make sure that the project outcome and project outcome and project is, you really know the difference between both. So we talked about the project outcome. So what is this outcome? For example, you are constructing Burj Khalifa, which is the tallest building in the world, and it is located in Dubai. I have seen the construction of this when I was in Dubai. So at this stage, when the construction is going on, we can say that this is a project. So what is the project? Construction of Burj Khalifa is a project. And once the Burj Khalifa is constructed, it becomes the project outcome. Similarly, I mentioned this, the FIFA World Cup in 2018. So this is also a project. You are managing, you are planning for a specific event. So that event can also be a project. And what will be the outcome? Outcome will be the moment event is successful, that you have completed that event. So it is an outcome of the project. So FIFA World Cup 2018 was the outcome of the project, and all the tasks and work in order to make that project successful, make that outcome successful, to bring that outcome, you had to conduct various tasks, and those tasks are in fact the real work, which is the project. For example, Pyramid of Giza, this is an outcome of the project, and there has been various skills, tools, and techniques applied on work in order to get this outcome. Similarly, if you are publishing a book, suppose the PMBOK Guide 6th edition, this can also be this is a outcome of the project. Right now, a project is going on, which is 7th edition. So 7th edition, the moment it will be published, it will be the outcome of the project. Similarly, commercial software application, when you are developing the software, when you are applying all the skills, software development skills, there is a team involved who is managing the project. So the moment it is being developed, it is called project. But the moment software is developed, it is called the outcome of the project. Similarly, space mission can be project. So it means that if you want to define the project, so how do we define the project? The first particular chapter of PMBOK Guide 6th edition says the same thing. And in general, you have to remember that. You have to remember those terminologies as I mentioned. So what is project? Project is temporary. Temporary means that you are constructing, as I mentioned, that Burj Khalifa. When the construction plan started, so it was the start date of the project, and when the project was handed over, Burj Khalifa was handed over to the customer or to the sponsor, so the project ended at that time. When you are developing a software, when you meet the customer, you take the requirements, then you design the software, then you develop the software, then you do the testing, you implement the software, then you do various changes. The moment customer is satisfied, you have signed off, that particular project becomes the outcome of the project. The software becomes the outcome of the project. So it is temporary. Project is temporary. It has a specific start date and end date. So project is temporary and it has defined start date and end date. So you can't say that, okay, I'm into project, but we never know when the project is going to end. It must have the start date and end date. And after that end date, the project is finished. And it produces the specific result. It produces the specific product. It produces specific service. Okay, so as I mentioned that an event is an outcome. So it has to deliver something. It has to deliver an output, which will be in the form of service, which will be in form of product, and which will be in form of result. But it will be unique. Every project is unique. You have to remember that. If you keep developing, if you keep producing, suppose you have you are producing, your company is producing mouse. Okay, so producing mouse or producing keyboard or producing any product, it is not a project. If you are not producing something unique, then it cannot be considered as a project. So if you want to define the project, so we define the project as the project is temporary and endeavor undertaken to create unique product, service, or result. Now, I will end this session here on this particular slide. We'll give you thoughts for you to review the PMBOK guide. So why do organizations do project? Why there is a need to do the project? There are specific reasons to do a project. What are those reasons? So first can be the requirement. There is a regulatory requirement, there is legal requirement, or there is a social need. So based on these requirements, project is done. Okay, you start a project. So you do the project because there is some requirement from the regulatory, there is a legal requirement. For example, legal requirement can be that you have a software already implemented in your organization, and now you want to enable some features which are required by the government. So these are the legal requirements. For example, VAT, so value added tax is being implemented in some of the countries. Your software doesn't support that. So now you have a legal requirement to start the project in order to bring those features into that software. So then it becomes the project. So you need to start that project. Then create or improve or fix. So you don't necessarily produce the product or a unique product in all the projects. Sometimes you have to fix the product. Yeah, sometimes you have to improve the product. Now, for example, if there is a building already which is constructed, and now you want to bring some more features into that building, or you want to change the exterior of the building totally, so then you have to start this project, a new project, which will be the change of exterior of the building. Or if you have a software where you want to add another feature into that software, so that becomes a new then that becomes the new project. So similarly, if you are into business, so there are various processes in the business. For example, if you are into manufacturing, so there is manufacturing process in the business. If you want to modify that process, if you want to improve that process, or if you want to create a new process within the company, so that becomes a project. And then similarly, if you want to provide new service to any industry, suppose if you are into government and you want to provide the services to the public, so in order to produce those services, in order to start providing those services to the customers, you need to first produce that service. And to produce that service, you have to start this as a project. And then why do you start the project? You start the project because there is a request from the stakeholder. In order to satisfy the stakeholder, you get the request, or stakeholder has the need. Then is changes needs to be implemented. Any change in the surroundings which impacts the business. Now, for example, the good example can be that COVID-19, which has started, and people were unable to come to the offices, and work from home was the only way to conduct the business. But in order to bring this, in order to enable work from home, there was a need to bring technology to the workplaces, so that people will be able to connect from their homes and then keep working on their projects, keep working in their offices. So this is as per the business strategy. So there is business strategy based on that. A change has to be implemented immediately, or any change. It is not necessary that this particular change which I am talking about is only the change. There are various changes that needs to be implemented, and when you want to implement those changes, you can say that this is a project. So now I'll show you something. Now, for example, project management. It is not something new. Project management has been implemented various times. So any website you are developing, any software you are implementing, I gave example of Taj Mahal, I gave example of airports, any new airport. These all are the projects. So I'll end my presentation here right now, because my plan was to just do 1 hour, and right now there are not many participants attending this session. But if you are watching this as a recorded session, because the session is being recorded, and once you see the session, if there is any comment, any feedback, you can give me, so that I can then improve this session in the next upcoming lectures. Thank you so much. Goodbye.